The sentiment is really poor on Sorare right now. I know personally my gallery's gone from about 7.5 grand to 5.5 grand in a month or so. So it doesn't feel good, and a lot of people are asking the same question. Is Sorare finished? And to be honest, I hate talking about this sort of topic because ultimately it's so easy to influence people when you don't really mean to influence people. This is My Sorare Journey, episode 89. All it is my thoughts and opinions. I don't know any more than you, but I have been around longer than most of you. I've been playing Sorare for almost 4 years now, so this is what I think. At the start of the season, I transitioned my gallery to mainly rare Premier League cards, and to be specific, rare in-season Premier League cards. Now, I could see the benefits of the in-season competition. I can see Classic getting harder every single year, and a lot of them have drastically fell in price. We'll look at someone like Bukayo Saka. You know, recently been trending around the £1,000 mark, £1,100 mark. I mean, that was Ilkay Gundogan, like the Barcelona Man City player. So maybe take that with a pinch of salt. But at the minute, he's selling for roughly around £743. Christian Romero, another example, someone that's putting up good scores. And you'll see, you know, transitioning from £400 coming down £319. You can probably get him even lower. Cole Palmer, you know, he was my big spend after finishing in first position. I picked him up for £922. He's settling down £823. You might even get him even cheaper. What I'm trying to say here is that the majority of cards, we'll just go to Declan Rice because he's a really good example of someone falling hard. 564 all the way down to 186, 148 instant buy. So yeah, things are going against Sorare cards, and it's not just classic cards. You know, classic cards absolutely, no doubt, getting absolutely slaughtered as well. We'll look at Xavi Simons as an example. In the last 3 months, his classic card down from 303 to 107. Now he is injured, so you know, take that one with a pinch of salt. But if we had a market cap of Sorare cards, they would be falling, whether they're in season or classic variations. And it's concerning for a few people, and I understand why. But for my in-season cards, I'm genuinely not really that concerned. And that might surprise a few people, but again, I've spoke about it in previous videos, but people's lack of ability to adjust to the Sorare new system, Sorare 2.0. One of the key things, which is almost unarguable at this point, is that Sorare kind of works in a cycle. You've got a 1 year in-season cycle, where in that period, you want to try and earn back the majority of your outlay on your gallery or on your in-season cards. And for me, that was something I'd done early, and yeah, I got lucky. Getting first place requires luck. I reinvested some of that, you know, maybe rightly, maybe wrongly. I enjoyed the game, so I did it. And I think there's still upside to be had. But what that means is that as time goes on, these cards are gonna fall in value. That goes without saying. Now, I see a lot of people across the Sorare universe hinting at the fact, you know, say Bruno Gomares is down this much money, and that is the reason Sorare is not doing well. Now, let's just cover the basic points. Supply versus demand. If supply is added every year, he's gonna fall in value. But the point that people don't really pick up on as much is that in a one-season market, where one season makes up the majority of your returns, the further you go through that season, the less you can return, the less valuable the asset should be, and in reality, is becoming. Now, if we go to some of the big players like a Bukayo Saka, he's a bit different because he didn't have a couple of recent auctions, but let's say his recent sale of 743 is realistic. Let's call it 800 for an auction card because there is that little bit of benefit. So if we look at it, some of the early cards actually sold for that sort of level, and I even managed to get mine for 989. Had how many Premier League game weeks we're in, which is ability to earn back on that team for that many weeks. Let's call it 10. I can't remember how many Premier League games are played this season. And he didn't really fall in price. And that really, really surprised me. Because genuinely, if you're buying them at the start of the season and, you know, their form isn't drastically changing. I mean, Sacco has been a little bit injured and things like that, but realistically, he's fine. He's going to play the majority of games. He hasn't got drastically worse in an Arsenal team. He hasn't got drastically better in a SO5 sense. He's one of the closest players you could be to just stability. But here, he has drifted, let's say, from a median price of £1,000, £1,050 maybe, to let's call it 800. That for me is actually nothing to worry about. That for me is the market working, because you have less ability to earn on your cards, and people that have earned and won on them would have taken some money out. I know I've done it. I know other players that have won have done it. That's part of the system, because if you do win, yes, you can go and put all your money back in, but you've got to have, in the back of your mind here, well, next season you're going to need to respend again if you enjoy the game and you think you have the ability to earn more than your team. So this idea that cards are falling in value, yeah, that is happening. Does that mean Sorare is finished? Does that mean Sorare is in financial difficulty? I don't know, but to me it doesn't seem that way. I think it's just the natural market working. And some of my more pessimistic viewers might be saying, well, if you knew Sorare card prices were going to fall, why'd you go out and spend a maximum price for 922 on Cole Palmer? Now, couple of reasons for that. One, I had won the money, so it's a lot easier to spend money when it's, won. Two, I had the ability to actually improve my team drastically with this card, so I already had the pieces. Adding to it just makes it more efficient. And third is without doubt the most important, supply and demand. Because Sorare actually only gets 60% of the cards to distribute in terms of sales. Now they do that through auctions and buys, instant buys. But I've got a lovely graph or a lovely spreadsheet, thanks to Laird here, that actually put together some of the best performers on Sorare and laid out exactly crafted, minted, all of the rest. Now I think he was looking more at essence here, but what I was looking at here is the total amount of cards sold. So you can go and see that most of your top players, you're averaging 50 cards sold in rare of the maximum 60 cards they can sell. So this is something I actually touched on my last episode about how it's good Sorare we're selling into demand. But my whole point here is they've sold so many, they've sold almost all of their supply instantly, and the price has only just dropped on some of the star cards. Now, if you look at a Bruno Guimaraes, he's fell more drastically, but also his forms fell more drastically. A 60 long-term average to a 46 short-term average. So my big point here is that, yes, card prices in season have fell. Now, I will touch on classic cards. I know some of you probably banging your head against the wall saying, yeah, but my classic cards, I'll get to it. So when you look at it and you say, right, Sorare have sold about 83% of Cole Palmer's supply almost immediately at the start of the season, that tells you a little bit more, where you get price discovery pretty early on and we don't really know, what sort of prices people are willing to pay. And then you sort of stabilise and go up as he has good form, or down if he has go into bad form. But these recent drops in prices, all there really are almost like a new level of price discovery, where yeah, there is less people buying Sorare cards right now. That's because negative sentiment, less time to return on in-season cards, the economy, crypto, literally everything affects Sorare cards, of course. But my point is, it's dropped completely reasonably and not an irrational amount. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, so for me, in-season cards, they've actually performed really well. And I want to go beyond just in-season cards being successful in terms of their prices now, because I also think they're doing well to attract new users. Because I look at the user growth and I think since March 23, it's not really been fantastic. Yes, there's been spikes. A lot of those spikes are often linked to just like general advertising campaigns and free money and all of the, prizes that are ridiculous. Sign people up, they might buy one card, but it's not really long-term attracting more users in a better way. Whereas recently, across multiple months, we've seen double-digit growth on users. I actually have it in my own spreadsheet here, but it's just getting better year on year. So yes, obviously it's not comparing to the same numbers as the crypto boom. And unfortunately for Sorare, that was one of those like lightning in a bottle moments where you think it was, at the time I thought everyone thought it was amazing. I think looking back, it was actually really negative for Sorare as people's expectations just went too high. Now, that's actually a common trend what I see across a lot of sort of classic users, which I will touch on. But I just want to say, firstly, that I think the in-season cards have done fantastic. I think they probably outperformed Sorare's expectations. New user growth, probably doing the same again. Now, look, I'm not saying this is a perfect metric, buying one card. But also, if you flash back to, having sold its last card, the numbers aren't particularly growing either. So, I see threads after threads on how to improve the game, what needs to change for Sorare, and I'm not saying it's nothing, but the negative sentiment around how bad it is, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, my journey, it's vastly exaggerated from classic users not adjusting to Sorare 2.0. Now, I've debated doing more videos where I, slag off other people's opinions on what's wrong and that. It's not really something I want to get into. I'm trying to touch on more of the positive sides of the price discovery. Yes, prices are going down. It's natural. User growth, it seems to be fairly reasonable. Whether they turn into long-term users that stay and move to rare or super rare, who knows? It's far too early to say. Sorare 2.0 effectively launched in August, really. We got a bit of a trial towards the end of the season, but it really started in August. That's when it really started feeling the effect. Now, Sorare's not perfect. Sorare Classic does need some work. But at the same time, I'm going to caveat myself and say people haven't adjusted to the classic cards. Because the benefit of classic cards is you get them forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. In season, yes, they become classic cards and have that. But the actual in-season cash competition where you get the chance to win jackpot prizes, that is a one-season thing. And why I mention that again is because if you're looking at the return of your classic cards versus your in-season cards, you're looking at it wrong. Because one of them is a timeline you can't really see, which is 2 years, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, however long Sorare goes, versus in-season 1 year. So the 1 year is always going to be, let's say 10 years, because your time horizon, your return on investment time is completely different. So if I was doing a new joiners guide, I'd say, how much are you willing to spend and or lose on this Sorare game, and how long do you expect to be playing? If you're someone that lose interest in stuff early or quickly, the first version. Otherwise, Classic might be better for you and a cheaper entry point, because these cards, having the returns are low naturally because they need to plan for the next 2, 3, 4 years. It's one of the reasons probably Essence got cut. They looked at it and too many people just firing off, the lowest tier. Now, am I saying it's perfect? No. Some of these drops in prices, some that I've taken advantage of, like Virgil van Dijk, for example, he's playing well, probably better form than, expected maybe. Yeah, I think all of Liverpool's form's better than expected. But, from at the end of season being 209 to being 73, and I actually picked mine up for, 59 there. That's probably not good. And I will touch on another thing quickly. When people threaten to sell all of their cards, Sorare, I'm not speaking for them. I assume they don't really care. Like, yes, they're going to lose a user, but I also get 5% of his entire gallery. So it's not really a threat. Like, maybe if you're an in-season player, but also I see a lot of these classic users aren't really filtering into in-season, so it's not really a big loss for them. Maybe that's a bit of a side tangent, but how do we fix Classic is the big question. I don't really know. I don't think Sorare know. They probably would have done it. Like, yes, there's increasing Essence again. There's giving more money. There's all these suggestions which are unsustainable, and now sustainability is like a bad word now. People don't want the game to be sustainable, which I just bang my head against the door, because it's genuinely, if you don't want sustainability on Sorare, go join a Ponzi scheme. Because what happens, Ponzi schemes give you great returns, but they're not sustainable, so you go bust, you lose everything. So the guys that don't want sustainability is just bewildering, but that's besides the point. How do we fix Classic? We don't know. Okay, they're still trying to figure it out. I think they'll come up with a genius solution. They genuinely come up with some nice ideas. They communicate them pretty poorly. That's kind of the way. So, look, if you have been worried about So Rare, ultimately sell some of your cards. You don't need to sell all of them. Or if you're too invested in it, where it's taken up and making, mentally it's taking its toll, maybe not in terms of like money wise, but just mentally taking up too much time, it's annoying you too much, sell some of your cards. But for me, I know I've been like ultra positive recently, and that's just because it's how I feel about the game, and I feel it's getting unnecessary criticism, which isn't even right. But yeah, if you do feel like that, please take some action and just sell some cards, reduce your risk. But in the other term, if you're getting worried by other people's opinions, that you see the negative sentiment, you're not really sure if this is going to last or if it isn't. Well, no one's sure if it's going to last or it isn't. But from my perspective, things are actually going well. It's working to its plan. Yes, cutting classic rewards in terms of essence, they didn't want to do that. Like, that was like a forced hand, and it looks bad on them and everything else. In terms of fixing classic, maybe we go to SO7, maybe we go to SO11. It might be a bit fun, take up some more cards, but it's really just lagging. It's just going to be a lagging effect of what we're seeing now, where people put more cards in and like, oh, I used up 11 cards and got the same rewards. Bits of it is just, you need to look at a longer term horizon and say, okay, well, if I played this team for 3 years, how many rewards would I get compared to my in-season cards? Look at the cost, look at the benefits. That's kind of what I wanted to say. Just a little kind of off my chest, try and help some of you if you are feeling negative or positive. If you liked it, drop a like, that would really help me. Subscribe if you've never seen me before. But regardless, all the best to you. Cheers.